Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do my full review on the Chris Reeve knives Inkosi. This is the large Inkosi right-handed Insingo. I guess double lug. I don't know if the Insingo or the Inkosis are all double lug, but yeah. So this was loaned into me by a buddy, Big Sexy. And I've had it for a little while now, a couple weeks at least. I got to get it back to him. Sorry about that, buddy. And essentially, yeah, I've kind of given my thoughts on it, but I guess I wanted to wrap it up and do the proper review. Got my LaCroix here, coconut, and let's get into it. So, Chris Reeve knives Inkosi, large Inkosi, Insingo. Aesthetically, you know, that's kind of the thoughts I have. They're not great. I do think the blade to handle ratio looks fantastic, at least, aesthetically. I don't know if that pans out in terms of specs. I don't really love the Insingo shape of the blade. It's kind of like I want to be a reverse Tanto, but I also want to be a sheep's foot, and it just kind of doesn't overall work for me personally. Sorry, my kid's monitor went off. She just moved around a little bit. I think should go off in a second. So yeah, aesthetically, it's just not for me. I don't really like the inlays. Now, I call them onlays because they're freaking huge and thick. How do I explain it best? I kind of like the look of them, but I don't like them in context, so it doesn't work for me. So I guess aesthetically, they're okay, right? I would want the black micarta ones. If I got inlays, which I wouldn't get. I would get plain Jane because I had a small Sebenza plain Jane, and I think I really like the feel of that, just the full titanium. I love their titanium finish. That's probably my favorite thing about Chris Reeve knives is the finish on the scales. And I know a lot of people don't like it because it snail trails and shit, which is, that doesn't bother me. I just like the way it feels, and I like the way it looks. So that's kind of subjective, obviously. Subjective? Yes. Objective. No, subjective. Whatever. But yeah, so aesthetically, just not my bag, if you know what I mean. Ergonomically, so left-handed, I've found this is a pretty comfortable knife. I do feel things in my kind of like right here, whatever you call these, the armpits of my fingers. I just feel things grabbing at them, and I think it's these humps, right? It's like on the edge of those, and it grabs. If you hold it right-handed, that doesn't happen, and it feels pretty solid. My fingers line up pretty well with these grooves, if I'm being honest. So I think ergonomically it works for me right-handed, but I would prefer... Now, if I got a lefty one, I would assume it would fit as well, right? But I would prefer to have a Sebenza style handle that doesn't have finger grooves. I think that would feel much better. Like I said, I had the small Sebenza lefty, and I think if it had been larger, I think it would have been perfect for me. I don't necessarily think I would want it to be as large as this is. But just a little bit larger than that small would have been great. It's one of those things for me where these companies, these American companies, CRK, Spartan, Hinderer, I think, is the other one that I'm thinking of, Strider. It's like their small knives are just too small for me. Like, just a little bit too small for my hand. Like the small Sebenza, the Spartan Harzy Folder 3.25. But then their large ones are just too big. Like, this isn't too big. It just is a little bigger than I would like for like an everyday carry. And that increases the weight, which to me I don't like either. So it's kind of, I've heard you can front flip these. Hey, look at that. You can. Just grab that little tab. That's easy. Wow. That's cool. Props to Kyle, DTOM Knives and Gear, for showing that in one of his videos I watched. You can do that. That's cool. Sorry. Yeah, they're just a little too big. Like the Spartan Harzy, the 4-inch blade, just a monster. I did not like that. And then the 3.25 was just tiny. It was weird. Like, why don't they have a 3.5-inch model? I feel like that would fit most people. but you have extremes in both directions, and this is not an extreme. This is fine. Anyway, ergos are fine. Cutting is fine. I think it probably needs a sharpen. I'm not going to mess with it. I cut a few things, and it works great. It has a good hollow grind on it. It's not very deep or anything, but it does have a hollow grind. At least that's what I thought. Yeah, it's a hollow grind. Very slight. Comes down to a decent edge. I mean, it's ground well, has a crown spine. It cuts well, guys. It's, that's one of the things these knives do well. They cut well. It is S35VN, so, you're going to have to strop it up and maintain that edge. I don't buy into the Chris Reeve is the master of heat treat bullshit. But anyway, all good there. Carry, I carried it a little bit back left pocket because I'm left-handed, and it carries fine. The clip has it's kind of like loose tension-wise to me, but it's a very good clip. I've heard really nothing but good things about their clips. You got a little bit sticking out, but oh well. It's not like a ton, and it carries well. It's a little bit heavier than I'd want it to be, I think, but it's not overwhelmingly heavy. Like, did they mill it out at all? No. See, there's no internal milling. They could definitely have gone and done some milling, but maybe that takes away from the structurability. I don't know. So carry is good. It's definitely good. Carry, cutting, ergos, aesthetics, sounds. Yeah, I actually, the sound is one of the things I actually like about CRKs. I don't know what it is. They have a nice click when they open up and a nice click when they close. It's very tactile. It's like, yep, knife's open. Yep, knife's closed. Good, right? So I'd say sounds are very good on this knife. Somewhere around a 7, I would say. Maybe even an 8 in terms of how it satisfies me, right? It sounded so gay. Action. So that's what we're all here for. No, I'm just kidding. At least if you watch my channel a lot, you know I'm an action snob. I can flick this if I try hard enough. I got to give it a little wrist. I've just, if I really pound it out, yes. So she said, but I'm mostly giving it a little flick along the way, right? Which to some people, they probably love that. Hey, found out you could front flick it. That's pretty cool, actually. That actually makes me like this knife a bit more. Can I do it right-handed? Yeah. And then on the close, the way I have it tuned now after cleaning the shit out of this thing, no play really. I mean, maybe if I really wrench it, but if you push, come on, I had it there. So maybe you got to give it a little bit of a toss as you close it. You can get it to about there, and then, 1 or 2 shakes, she's closed. I think most people with these knives are going to do this. They're going to slow roll it open, close it, and do this, right? You're going to do a lot of this stuff if you're a Sebenza guy, if you're an Inkosi guy. Maybe you're the guy who puts KPL in there and you flick it. And I did do that with my small Sebenza, and it did flick better, I will say that. It never really dropped shut well, but it was a brand new knife. I didn't give it much time. I had it for a couple months, but, I don't know. I can't really judge that one, but anyway, the action is just, here's a reverse flick left-handed. It's not going to happen unless I give it the old wrist-a-rooney. So it works, right-handed. I'm sure guys have figured out how to flick this thing, but that's the point. You're figuring out how to flick it. You're figuring out how to make it do what you want. You're not getting what you want right away. This is what it's meant to do. It's meant to be rolled out like that and then kind of brought home like this. That is how this knife is meant to be operated, and it does that extremely well. It's very smooth. It's hydraulic. Again, I've said this before. People use that as a term of positivity. I don't know if it is. Basically, hydraulic means it's very smooth. So there's no grit, grime. There's none of that, right? But the pivot is tight, so you can't flick it. You have to slow roll it. And that's essentially what hydraulic is. And it can feel good if that's what you're into. It's not really what I'm into, But, occasionally it does feel nice. So I get it, why people like it. Action is fine. For a CRK, this knife is great. For a CRK I have the CRK grease in there. I can flick it open. I can drop it shut like that. Sorry, I messed that up. You can flick it out. So it works, right? I wouldn't say it's like really, really good action, but, on my scale of action, this thing is probably like a 3 or a 4, right? But on other people's scale, because they maybe like that kind of stuff, it might be higher. And for a Chris Reeve, it's very good. Value. So, you're looking at 550 for this, I think, because you got the Insingo double lug and the inlays. Yeah, I think you're talking 550 for this bad boy. That's what I paid for this here, Hoback Sumo. So, let's see. What do we got? Titanium scales, 20 CV, S35 EN. You're on bearings with a button lock that drops shut. You can slow roll this if you want. This is on these giant washers, and again, S35 EN. Titanium slabs, micarta inlays. I mean, they're pretty equivalent. Yeah, at 20 CV is definitely a little bit better, but I don't think it's like mind-blowingly better than S35 EN. And you're paying about the same price. You pay a little bit of a Chris Reeve tax. Both made in America, obviously. Both made in Idaho. I don't know. Obviously, I prefer this because I can fidget with it. This is less likely to do that. But if I wanted a work knife, something that I was going to do a lot of work with, I probably wouldn't grab the Sumo like right off the bat. I do actually personally prefer this knife to do certain tasks. I like the belly on the blade. I really like the ergos for my hand. And now that I trust the lock, I don't have any issues with that. But I mean, for me, this is a fidget knife and an everyday carry type knife, right? And I think for a lot of people, this is a everyday carry knife and a work knife. It's also a kind of flashy knife. Would I say this is flashy? Like, is it higher end like the Sebenza? Yeah, I do. I think it's in that class of like you're showing off your shit, right? In your collection. Here's my Hoback Sumo, bitches, right? Here's my Inkosi, motherfucker. So I think they're very comparable, and the price range is right there. So I kind of have to say there's nothing wrong with the price. I think the machine quality is very well done. I think the tolerances are very well done. I think, the heat treat is good. I think the blade is good. The grind is good. I don't see anything uneven or anything. Chamfering's good. Love the finish on the scales. Man, it's my favorite thing about Chris Reeve. It was a little bitch to take apart and put back together, but I think part of that was me. Part of that was the ass ton of Loctite that was in here from the owner or previous owner. Sorry, Big Sexy. The value is there for sure. So I'm not going to argue it's not worth the money. Do I think it should have better steel? Yes. This is 2021. Like, we're switching from S35 to S45. Like, people don't understand. There's almost no difference in those steels. Like, you're not getting this mind-blowing... It's not like you're switching to 20 CV, which even 20 CV isn't like this mind-blowing difference from S35 EN, but, like, you're not even... Like, you're taking the tiniest incremental step up. Maybe. Like, S35 does certain things better than S45, and vice versa. So it's not really... It's just them appeasing people. That's what this is. This steel switch, all of that is just them appeasing people, and yet they still get to use the material they love, right? Because it's going to be so close to S35, which is what they love to use already. So I think that I call bullshit on S45, basically, is what I'm saying. You heard it here first, motherfuckers. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on the Chris Reeve knives and the Inkosi. Some things I really don't like are the washers, how they're just enormous. They literally, they stick out. You can see them right by the stop pin. Like, they don't need to be that big. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they interact the entire way either. I think they're a little bit bigger than they need to be. Um, and what else? I love the tolerances. Like if you look at the space between the scales, like the how much room that blade has left or right, if anything's off center, it barely has any room. Like that's good tolerance. They trust themselves to dial a knife in, which is impressive. So yeah, so there's a lot of good, some things I don't really like about it, but overall, solid knife. And if it's something you're looking into and you think you would like, if you're into this style, then yeah, I can definitely recommend it to anyone. Lefties, righties, you can get whatever you want. You can get a lefty, you can get a righty, you can get double lug, single lug, do whatever you want. Inlay, no inlay, you can do all types of stuff. You just can't get better steel. Sorry. I do hope, and it does seem that maybe in the future, maybe starting next year, we're going to see Magna Cut on this kind of stuff as their stock steel. And if that's true, I'm all in. I will buy a Sabenza if it comes out in Magna Cut in regular production. So hopefully that does happen. But anyway, guys, that's it. Thank you to Big Sexy for letting me check this out. I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.